So talking about dates is an absolutely normal discussion within Scrum as well. We do have dates, we can have deadlines. Hi, my name is Daria. Welcome to ScrumMastered video series where I give you practical tips on how to build awesome teams. In this video, I wanted to go over some questions that I received from someone who purchased the Scrum Master Starter Kit. And I thought it is a great opportunity for me to answer those questions and to add some extra value to this product, as well as answer some of those questions that you might have right now, even if you are not reading the Scrum Master Starter Kit yourself. So let's jump into it. The first question is about a backlog. So one of the things that I talk about in the Scrum Master Starter Kit is Scrum Master's backlog, your Scrum Master's backlog. So I talk about how you can create one, what kind of items you would add there, how you can prioritize, as well as how you should go about implementing that. And the question comes in about how you can actually manage your Scrum Master's backlog and what kind of tools you could use. Now, I don't personally use any specific tools, but as you know, many teams use the tools such as Jira, Trello, or Azure DevOps. There are many different tools that actually help you manage the product backlog and the sprint backlog of a Scrum team. As a Scrum Master, of course, this is up to you. So you do not need any complex tools to really manage your own backlog, but you can obviously find some simpler ways to see your product backlog for yourself and to organize it. And what I believe the most important thing is that you're able to reprioritize your backlog easily. So tools like Excel, for example, is not the best way to collect all of your ideas because you can't easily change the order of the rows in the Excel file. That's why I would recommend looking into some tools that allow you to do that. Even simple tools such as virtual whiteboards can be pretty useful, such as Miroboard. If you add all of your items on sticky notes, it is easy for you to prioritize because as you start working on implementing some of those improvements and changes that you want to make in your team, you're able to see if maybe something isn't working, you want to try out new approach, or maybe you want to switch focus onto something different because you see that it has a bigger negative effect on the success of your team. So that is kind of one of the key things that I would talk about and that I would recommend for anyone who is creating their own Scrum Master's backlog. The next question is about backlog refinement. One of the things I talk about in the Scrum Master Starter Kit is backlog refinement and how you can help your team be more successful and more organized when they refine their backlog. So the question is about how much time should the team actually take in order to refine their product backlog. Previously, the Scrum Guide was mentioning about 10% or no more than 10%. However, it is no longer in the Scrum Guide. So what is the right time frame for the team to actually use in order to refine their product backlog? Well, I would say that it depends on where your team finds themselves. If they are at the very start, they're new, well, to each other, to the product, or to even the product owner as well, they might need to spend more time on the refinement part. You need to understand how to work together better, and refinement is a good opportunity to talk about that. As you talk about the task, you decompose stories into smaller tasks, you are splitting stories, maybe estimating, and this can help your team understand how they can work better together, but also understand their product, of course. And as your team becomes better, they become more accustomed with the product, with themselves, with each other, and the product owner, then obviously that time that they are spending on product backlog refinement would go down. And I would say 10% of a sprint seems to be a reasonable amount of time for a team to spend on the backlog refinement. And as well as there isn't really a way of how you can do the product backlog refinement. It's not a meeting. It's not a Scrum event, so you can organize it the way the team really prefers, that works for the team. And many teams would have product backlog refinement as a regular meeting they have every week. So that seems to be working for a lot of teams, but maybe it's not the only way really to do the product backlog refinement overall. The next question was about sprint planning. So here's what I say in the Scrum Master Starter Kit. Help use metrics to plan better and avoid overcommitting. So this is one of those things that you can do as a Scrum Master to help your team with sprint planning. And the question here is, can you give any example of which metrics to use? As I often say, agile metrics is a very complicated topic, and it would be not really fair to the topic itself for me to try to explain everything in 5 minutes. So there are many different metrics that you can use, but what you can start off with when it comes to sprint planning is estimation, right? So if you're use story points or t-shirt sizes or any other way to estimate your work, then that can help you actually plan ahead. Especially if your team is overcommitting or undercommitting, then you can use that velocity that you calculate in order to forecast for the next sprints. If you have more questions around velocity itself or how to calculate it or how to use it properly, I do have quite a few videos and different materials that talk about that, including the whole agile metrics section and a product that you can find on my website, a series of videos and many different things. So I am going to link the place where you can find everything right below the video in the description so that you can look into that topic a little bit more. The next question is related to something that is written in the sprint review section of the Scrum Master Starter Kit, and it says, review progress towards the product goal and likely completion dates. So the question here is around the completion dates. So reviewing progress obviously is part of the sprint review. We don't only look at the work that has been done and inspect the increment, but it's also an opportunity to discuss how are we tracking against our long-term goals, and if we're still on track, or do we need to make any changes in the scope. And the completion dates here is really talking about when do we think that we were forecasting really that we are able to reach the product goal. We have our product backlog, it has its specific scope, right? And we are able to talk about how we've been progressing so far towards this goal and how much is left. And that can give us a bit of an understanding of how far away we are from that goal. So talking about dates is an absolutely normal discussion within Scrum as well. We do have dates, we can have deadlines, but the question here is that those plans and forecasts, we know that they are not ideal and that they might change as we learn more. And the important part here is that we review that regularly, so we do not give a guarantee to deliver something by a certain date or to deliver a certain scope by a certain date, but instead we have this discussion around what is really possible. The next two questions are also about the sprint review section, because it is a good section there where I talk about how do you prepare for a sprint review, how do you make the sprint review meeting actually useful, productive, and engaging, both for the Scrum team and the stakeholders who are attending. So here are the questions that are related to what is written in that section. One of them is the team might want to do a dry run to get ready. So this is some of the recommendations that I give in the list, preparation list really. And so the question here is, when do we do it? Maybe how much time do we spend? Who should attend? All of those things. How do you actually organize it? And the best answer is always, it depends. Really, it's just an opportunity. It's just a way of how your team might want to prepare. One of the things that we did with one of the teams is we would just spend a few minutes after our daily Scrum on the day of the sprint review to talk about our agenda. So what do we want to talk about in the sprint review, right? and we would then decide who would talk about which topic. And that was kind of a mini dry run where we were getting ready to present the work that we have done in the sprint review. And then sometimes the teams would just spend 30 minutes during the day before the sprint review to look at what they want to talk about. And that can be pretty useful practice to have, though you do not want to spend too much time on it, right? Because you want the discussion, the collaboration, and the decisions to be made during the sprint review, not beforehand, but actually in that discussion with the stakeholders. So the last thing that I have here on the list is one of the things that I mention as your to-do list as a Scrum Master in the sprint review. So that's part of the Scrum Master starter kit, is you should prevent the team from promising delivery of certain features by certain dates, right? And this is more of a statement that it is one of the most important things to do as a Scrum Master overall, not only in a sprint review. So, and this is something where I can say, I do agree, this is one of those most important things. As a Scrum Master, you're there to help everyone understand empiricism, to help everyone understand how do we plan in an empirical environment, how do we review our plans, forecasting, all of those things. And this is definitely one of those important topics that is often very difficult to transmit, I guess, in the discussions. So every sprint review or every interaction you have with the stakeholder might be a great opportunity to talk about that, because it is so different from how we are used to measure progress and to assess performance and any other things that are related to how well we're doing on different projects. These are all the things that I wanted to talk about in this video, some of the questions that I got about the Scrum Master Starter Kit. If you are interested in this product, learning more what it has to offer, then I'm going to put the link in the description down below so that you can go and check it out. It is a great guide that really helps you start off in your Scrum Master role, kind of take the next steps, but also gives you a plan of how you can improve and how you can actually bring value to your team and organization from the first days in your role as a Scrum Master for a new team. Now, I hope you learned something new today, and if you did, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to this YouTube channel. And I'll see you in the next video. Cheers and Scrum on!